There were a lot of movies released in 2017 that were very well received by critics, but I didn't think were quite as great as everyone else thought they were. These are my picks for the most overrated movies of 2017. Number 10 on my list, Roman J. Israel Esquire. I'm putting this one on my list solely because it nabbed an Oscar nom for Best Leading Actor. A movie about an attorney abandoning his ideals isn't one of the best things Denzel Washington's ever been in. His performance is the standout of the movie, but I kind of feel nominating him for Roman J. is the equivalent of nominating Meryl Streep every year just because she was in something. Number 9, Boss Baby and Ferdinand in a tie. Two more films that made my list just because they got nominations that they didn't deserve. 2017 was not the most memorable year for animation, but there were other animated films that could have been nominated instead of these two. Captain Underpants and the Lego Batman movie were both snubbed in favor of these two generic and overall forgettable animated features. Number 8, Hounds of Love. A girl in Australia is being held hostage by a man and woman in their house. Sound like a familiar premise? Hounds of Love looks like it might be trying to be some kind of intelligent horror film, but it's little more than another exploitation nightmare thriller about kidnapping, rape, and abuse. But Logan, you put Berlin Syndrome on your underrated list, and that was also about a girl being held against her will. Yes, it was, and it was one that had very subtle and yet crucial level of depth that this movie doesn't have. The captor in Berlin Syndrome clearly suffered from issues of abandonment. Meanwhile, the captors in Hounds of Love are never given any clear motive for their actions. Number 7, Beauty and the Beast. How do you top what's already a masterpiece? You really can't. Beauty and the Beast wasn't a bad movie, but this live-action remake of the animated classic just feels not anything more than serviceable. The new songs don't stand out, especially when compared to old favorites. While it nails recreating some of the story's iconic scenes, the new ones make the movie overlong and bombastic. It's fine, but it's not the original. Number 6, Get Out. Was this a really good movie? Yes, it was. In fact, it's probably my favorite movie on this list. But was it 99% on Rotten Tomatoes, most reoccurring on top 10 lists, and Best Picture nominee fantastic? Well, I didn't think so. This thriller about the marginalizing of blacks in American society is an original take on the slasher genre, but a perfect movie? The last act of Get Out stands out as the most to me, mainly because it was the most problematic. It ends with a convoluted and kind of messy, fast-paced chase scene that works against the slow-building first two-thirds. I admire what Jordan Peele did with this movie. He elevates it to more intelligent heights than most slasher directors would, but a modern horror masterpiece is maybe a bit of an overstatement. Number 5, Mother. The most divisive movie of last year, Darren Aronofsky's Mother makes my list not because of what I necessarily thought of it, but because of what the public response to it was. The people who praised it lauded it as one of the best of the year, while those who didn't made it known as one of the worst. Mother makes my overrated list because I wouldn't put it in either of those camps. A bad movie it's certainly not, but it's not as great as it is ambitious. The allegorical and biblical allusions in Mother are at times so obvious that they feel contrived. The ending is also given away within the first scene, although there's plenty of unpredictable elements and twists along the way that you might forget about it. Number 4, Darkest Hour, my least favorite of the Best Picture nominees. Darkest Hour is worth seeing if only for Gary Oldman's terrific performance. Other than that, you're in for a by-the-numbers biopic about a world leader. Oldman's a great actor who's been in better movies than this, and I also think he's given better performances as well, many of which he was never nominated for. Darkest Hour is a movie you watch for the value of acting alone. Number 3, Your Name. I love anime films, but Your Name isn't going to be one that I put as an all-time great. The movie takes on a familiar body-switching trope that takes place years apart. Although an interesting idea, Your Name feels less like an anime feature and more like an anime series I would watch on Saturday mornings. Montage scenes that resemble intros and pop music by Japanese band The Radwimps add to this. Your Name is good and beautifully animated, but several other creative decisions made were just not to my taste. Number 2, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Of all the Marvel films, this one is going down as my least favorite. 1, because it got on my nerves, and 2, because it contributes the absolute least to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Even less so than Iron Man 2, because at least it introduced Nick Fury. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 feels as if it exists in a world where Volume 1 didn't. Whatever was accomplished in the 2014 original feels irrelevant in this Xeroxed sequel. Another problem I had was the Guardians themselves are kind of annoying. Star-Lord, Drax, and Rocket all talk and act the exact same way. It'd be like if Banner, Hawkeye, and Captain America were all cocky smartasses like Tony Stark. The jokes aren't funny, feeling like a middle schooler wrote them, and the whole movie feels like it's trying too hard to be as loud as possible. Number 1, Split. Making more than $270 million at the box office and being highly praised, this was supposed to be the return to form for M. Night Shyamalan, but I don't buy it. I still say he hasn't made a good movie since The Sixth Sense. And Split isn't one of his worst, but it's still really bad. Split is ugly, unoriginal, and exploitive. Aside from James McAvoy, the acting is passable at best, and where the cinematography is concerned, it's about as well shot as something a couple of high schoolers could make in their garage, and I know a thing or two about shooting shit in a garage. Thank you so much for watching. These were my picks for the most overrated films of 2017. Until next time, I'm Logan D. McCoy, and this is Real McCoy Reviews.